All right, Texas educators, let's talk. If you've been looking at the new 2021 K-5 Science TEKS for Earth and Space and your head is spinning just a little bit, you're definitely not alone. But don't you worry, because we are going to break it all down. In the next few minutes, we're going to decode these key updates so you can walk into your classroom feeling totally confident and ready to rock. So let's dive in. So here's our game plan. We're going to start with the big why behind the changes. Then we'll get into the nitty-gritty of the most important word shifts. And trust me, they're important. We'll also look at how concepts are getting deeper, see what content got shuffled to new grade levels, and then wrap it all up with the one key takeaway you need for your instruction. Okay, so first things first, why did these standards even change? It wasn't just to give us all more paperwork, I promise. There's a really important core philosophy at work here. I want you to just think about this question for a second, because that's exactly what's going on. These 2021 revisions, they're not just tweaks. They're a deliberate pedagogical shift designed to change how our students actually engage with science. And this right here, this is the heart of the whole thing. The old 2017 standards, sometimes the language was a little fuzzy, kind of hard to pin down. The new standards, they fix that with really precise, actionable language that lets you, the teacher, see and measure what your students truly understand and can do. And that leads us right here. Okay, this is where the rubber really meets the road. The most significant, most impactful changes in the new TEKS are all about the verbs, the action words that tell our students what's expected of them. Just look at this classic example. We're going from explore to model and describe. Now, explore can mean a lot of different things, right? And some of them are pretty hard to grade. But model and describe? Wow, that is concrete. Students now have to actually build a model and then explain the science behind it. They have to show you they get it. And we see the exact same pattern here. We're moving from a really passive verb like recognize to the very active model and identify. It's not enough anymore for a student to just point at a picture of a canyon. Now they need to demonstrate how wind, water, or ice created it. It's a much bigger emphasis on cause and effect. And hey, don't just take my word for it. The official instructional notes say it right there in black and white. The whole reason for these verb changes is to make the student expectations, the SEs, way more observable and measurable for you in the classroom. This shift isn't just happening in 5th grade either. Look at 4th grade. We go from observe and identify to, you guessed it, model and describe. This creates this beautiful, consistent alignment across the grade levels, building a much stronger foundation for our students as they move up. Okay, so the verbs are a huge deal. But it's not just about changing the action words. The 2021 TEKS also expand on some key concepts, pushing our students to connect ideas in, more sophisticated ways. Take the water cycle in 5th grade, for example. It's not enough anymore to just explain the cycle itself. Now, students have to connect that whole process to how it actually affects weather. So we're asking for a higher level of synthesis. It's not just about the what anymore, it's about the so what. Now, this is a big structural change that really matters. Natural resources are getting their own dedicated knowledge and skills statements, or KS, in both 3rd and 4th grade. This really puts a spotlight on the topic and makes sure there's a much better, more intentional flow as kids progress. And just check out this cognitive lift in 4th grade. Before, students just had to identify and classify resources. Now they have to identify and explain the advantages and disadvantages. This is so much more than a science standard. It's a critical thinking standard. We're talking analysis, evaluation. It's a whole new level of rigor. And that same trend continues right on down into 3rd grade. Soil formation goes from explore and record to the much more demanding investigate and explain. And there's a brand new standard asking students to explain why conservation is important. See the shift? It's from knowing what it is to understanding the reasoning behind it. All right, so with all these changes in depth and rigor, it kind of makes sense that some topics also found new homes, right? So let's take a quick look at the key content that has moved between grade levels. There are really 2 big moves you need to have on your radar. First, differentiating between weather and climate. That's moved down from 5th grade to 4th, and the properties of soils, which used to be in 4th, is now a perfect fit down in 3rd grade. And this isn't random. It's all about creating a more logical, developmentally appropriate sequence so each concept builds perfectly on the last one. Okay, We have covered a lot of ground. New verbs, deeper concepts, shuffled content. So let's just boil it all down. What's the bottom line for you and your classroom? This, right here, is the big instructional shift in a nutshell. We are moving from passive learning to active doing. We're asking our students to demonstrate their understanding, not just recite facts from memory. The bottom line is, the bar has been raised. The new texts demand a higher level of rigor, and they challenge all of us to get our students engaged with science in a much more authentic, hands-on way. And that really brings us to the final thought, which is actually the most exciting part. These new texts, they're an invitation. They're an opportunity to completely reimagine what science looks and feels like in our classrooms. So the question I want to leave you with is this: how will you empower your students to not just know science, but to get their hands dirty and actually do science?